I'm quite new to Gloucestershire, so I've spent some time thinking about this since I arrived because it does feel special. So for me, why does it feel special? The people. It starts with the people. I've moved around a fair bit in my career and I can say, hand on heart, I've never felt more welcomed into a community than I felt in Gloucestershire. There's something, isn't it, about the history, the contradictions. You've got the cathedral in Gloucester, you've got the spa town in Cheltenham. So I love the fact that it's got history, it's got heritage, and that people are so proud of that. Lastly, it's got to be its beauty, hasn't it? And the differences in its beauty, from the forest to the spa town. It's an amazing place, isn't it, to be in the Cotswolds, but to then be able to come into Gloucester City with all the diversity that offers. So it's a special place for all those reasons. Generally, thinking about the county as a whole, undoubtedly it's something about our population, isn't it, and what's happening to that population. I know from the business that I'm in, which is healthcare, that the number of older people is growing significantly. The number of births is good, where you're an active community when it comes to birth, but then we've got this bit in the middle where we've got people leaving the county at a much greater rate than they're coming in. And so looking forward, the risk is that we'll be a county characterised by its older population. That has some great upsides. That's full of people with wisdom and character, and that's all great. But if you haven't got people developing the economy and generating wealth to sustain that older population, then we're going nowhere. So that's probably for me the one big challenge that particularly Vision 2050 needs to address. I guess at the moment we've got a microcosm of what we're about to face down train. So if we look at what I've already mentioned in relation to population, then that's just potentially going to be exacerbated. But I think it won't just be about the fact that we've got a population that's atypical in terms of its age. It'll be all the consequences that come with that. So if we haven't got a vibrant, thriving 20 to 40-year-old sector within the population, then the industries that those people want to support won't grow and develop. The ones that we've got will wither on the vine. Digital world, social media, all that stuff maybe won't find its place in Gloucestershire in the way it might do in the rest of the UK, and then we start to become disconnected from the rest of the UK. So I think it starts with the demographic and how it's changing, but my fear is what the county then does in response to that will leave us as a county that doesn't feel 21st, 22nd century. I think the 6 ideas are broadly the right ideas. They're hard to argue with. I think that well, for me, they do 2 things. So they capitalise on what's good about Gloucestershire and they build on that. So the stuff around, for example, the Cotswold Park, absolutely, why wouldn't you? Let's bring the next, Wet Olympics to Gloucestershire. But also they attempt to fill the gaps where Gloucestershire isn't necessarily pushing on the national front. So some of the stuff around cyber, for example, the idea of I think the super city is the one where I spend a lot of time reflecting. I think I understand the rationale for it and something it's trying to achieve. Super city in Gloucestershire, I'm less sure about that, but I think how we overcome it is to make these our own, so make them unique and special and Gloucestershireify them, if that makes sense. If we try to do a Welwyn Garden City or we're trying to bring Bristol into Gloucestershire, it ain't going to work. So for me it's what's the Gloucestershire version of a super city that I think we probably need to spend some time on. Probably bound to say this, aren't I? So what's the part of the big conversation that's missing is there isn't a lot about health and healthcare and how it's going to be delivered in 2050. Just in the last 10 years, the way we deliver healthcare has been massively transformed, the whole digital environment. And I think because Gloucestershire is that positive contradiction of urban and rural, then we've got some particular challenges. So if our population is massively ageing, but it's living in the Forest of Dean, then that's a challenge for us in delivering healthcare. So I'd like to see health woven through some of these ambitions, some of these ideas. It tends to get oversimplified to should we have a new hospital in Staverton? Well, frankly, that's probably the easiest question to answer. It's a much more challenging question than that. So that for me is probably the gap that I think we could helpfully fill, and happy to play my part.